welcome back to another Just 5 Mins. Okay, so what have we got? What have we got? Well, undoubtedly it's going to be AI again, isn't it? Yep, it really is. But this one was just uh, really actually looking at, can AI actually help with what you do day to day? In my case, in from a business sense. Okay, now I know that's a really broad statement. Of course, it can help. It's helping so many things, everything from rewriting emails to generating HR requests, going through. But anyway, more on agents a little bit later. But what I ended up doing is I needed to create a command line tool in dotnet, okay, to take an XML schema and produce some SQL creation scripts and things like that from it, okay. And I thought I'd give it a go. Now, the problem is you've got to, I suppose, understand the domain, and when I say that, I don't mean just to throw a few of those words around, but it's essentially you really have to be quite clear what you want this thing to do. So I ended up starting with some boilerplate framework. It's not necessarily a really complex application, but I wanted it to be a command line. So I wanted a nice prompt based mechanism, and it found one that I'd never heard about before. I think it's called Spectre Console for .NET. So that's a library that, again, I had no idea existed. So that was good. And that allows me to have the nice sort of prompting and asking questions. What do you want? Where's the file, or what do you want it to do? The next level was, because I did actually write something about 8 years ago, and it was, looking back, it was quite atrocious, really. There was a lot of code for going through an XML schema, basically. Yes, people do still use those things. And anyway, so the idea was, the old code was doing a lot of looping and weird and wonderful stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll put this to the test and see what it can help. Now, I did write some code here. I don't want to just, put myself down completely. But one thing where it did shine, and when I say it, I've tried Codium. There's a few other AI models, obviously, for coding assistance, everything from Gemini from Google to Claude, Sonnet 3.5, I think it is. Obviously all the Chat GPT 4.0, and all that type of stuff. So I'm using GitHub Copilot. I've got a subscription. It's about $10 a month, I think. And I've tried Codium. Now, I had a few problems with Codium, but I've got a feeling that was just an environmental problem. I do like where Codium's going. It's integrated with so many IDEs, and even in the browser, you can choose between different models. And I do like that, and I will go back to Codium. But I'll say I had some problems. I think it was environmental. So I went back to GitHub Copilot, and I'm using, because it's just been announced, actually. I think GitHub Universe has just been on, and GitHub Copilot, that is, are now allowing varied models. So recently you've been able to pick through GPT 4.0 and O1 Preview and O1 Mini, but they're now adding things like Gemini and Claude Sonnet 3.5 as well. So you can pick what suits you, and more importantly, what suits the job, I guess. But anyway, so very quickly, back to the code. Where it really did shine, GitHub Copilot, is how it actually went through the XML schema, because I said, look, I need to look for sort of parent objects, child objects, and obviously it's going to generate some SQL code at the end of this. So I need to know, what are those elements within like a node in XML terms, I suppose. And it took a while. It did take, I got quite frustrated with it at one point. I thought I might as well just do this myself, but I did actually persevere, and on and off over a few days, not nowhere near days, just hours really on various days. It did come back using in .NET, if you're familiar with Link, LINQ, that's been around in .NET for years. Obviously, it's sort of a querying language that is used for database stuff, but also you can query over objects and things like that. Now, I must admit, I didn't even think of using that to do this sort of like schema extraction, but my goodness, it did, and it excelled at it. And it gave me nested sort of output. So if I've got a parent and then a child, and even if that child's got another child, it would allow me to do that. And obviously look at the schema, look at the data types, and generate the SQL scripts. It's a very specific, narrow focused requirement here, but there we go. And that really works. And as a bit of fun, and my good friend Tim Abel will enjoy this one, I'm sure, is it's working and it's doing quite a decent job. I've got a little bit of um, work just to clean it up, and there's a few extra features I'm adding. And for a bit of fun, I don't know the Rust language. I really don't, but I know Tim does, and there's lots of people using it. And Rust has become well, it has been for a while, but it's one of my favorite new flavors at the moment is Dino 2, which is the successor to Node.js, if you've ever heard of that. And Dino 2 is really nice. It allows you to write JavaScript at the server side, and you can write web APIs and all sorts of wonderful stuff. And Dino 2, Dino 1 was a move from Node.js, but it was still a little bit limited in from what I saw. But Dino 2, crikey, it's come a long, long way. Got some amazing features, and the whole darn thing was written, well, actually uses the V8 engine from the Chromium. So, in Chrome-based browsers like Edge and Chrome, it's using this V8 engine to interpret the JavaScript in the browser, but it's using this. Node.js used this a long time ago to execute JavaScript on the server, but Dino 2 is using that. But the whole thing around that was built with Rust, essentially. So that's quite a nice thing. But I've rambled on. Why am I rambling? Because that's what I do, I think. I'm embracing my rambleness, if that's such a thing. But anyway, I took this C# code and in GitHub Copilot, I thought just for a bit of fun, I don't know Rust, but wouldn't it be funny to see if it can actually give me a version of this command line application to create it in Rust? And it did. And it works from what I can see. And I thought, well, there's a good start point for learning a bit of Rust. Now, obviously, I think I need to know um, the fundamentals before I take this any further. But at least I can sort of like match it with the .NET code and sort of understand what it's doing, get a feel for it. So rather than starting at the bottom, start at the top, jump in, then learn to swim. So that's what I'm trying to do at the moment. But it is moving on, and I've rambled along way too long, over 5 minutes. But I think that's it. I mean, the key point and the key takeaway here is it is helping. You really do need to know what you want out of this thing, though, like whether it's GitHub Copilot or AI in general. And on the next one, I'm going to look at things like fine tuning in AI to really make use of stuff in a business process, where instead of it just randomly giving you different results, you can use fine tuning of models, that is, with your own data. And of course, you can use the RAG pattern, the retrieval augmented generation. So I'll be delving a little bit more into those topics, both in this podcast and on the just 15 minutes, which is very rarely just 15 minutes anyway. But that's a sort of more of a video show and tell. So anyway, for now, I'm going to wrap up there. Yeah, quite interesting. And yeah, we'll see where this takes us. So until the next one, take care and enjoy your week.